Can I ask you all to close your eyes for a minute? Picture someone living homeless. What do you see? You can open them again. In my work as a design researcher, I use design thinking tools to help people to see. I teach design research here at Emily Carr. Here's what I know. Design research is about three things: curiosity, compassion, and collaboration. Having curiosity, developing compassion, and using collaborative tools to help people to solve problems themselves. Research begins with curiosity. I myself am annoyingly curious about everything. You have to be a researcher. It's all about the question. Design research can help people to become more curious about the possible. My own curiosity led me to ask the question, how might we shift or change the way people see those experiencing homelessness? In completing my master's last year at SFU, I worked in my own community. I wanted to know why people were so uncomfortable with homelessness. Some people seem to be afraid. Some people don't really know how to say hello. And still others really want to help but don't know how. I'm wondering if we can break those walls down. I'm wondering if we can create more compassion while still respecting, even honoring our frustrations. I started my work with a survey of over 130 people, just to get a sense of the mood out there. When I asked people what they thought of the new supportive housing coming to our community, I got a range of answers from hate it. It will allow drug addicts a safe place to use drugs and store stolen property, all the way to, these are human beings. I find it appalling that anyone can be against it. Following that survey, I conducted 3 community workshops with people from very different backgrounds. People experiencing homelessness, people who lived in the surrounding neighborhood, people who support those living with homelessness, as well as local politicians and businesses. And I asked them to collaborate in mixed groups, homeless with housed, addicts with politicians. I used 3 different design thinking tools in my workshops. The first was a quick cursory education. I put posters all around the walls with quotes from the survey. It gave people an idea of the variation in thinking in the community. It got people's juices going. It got them thinking. And I invited them to comment on Post-it notes. The next tool I used was empathy maps. This is where compassion comes into play. These are big sheets of paper with what we call a persona in the middle. High school students, people experiencing homelessness, elderly people in the neighborhood, businesses. And around that center were 4 quadrants. What do they see? What do they hear? What do they think and feel? And what do they say and do? And I asked people to work in groups of 3 to 5 at a table to fill in the quadrants. They chatted while they did that. This was really collaboration at work. The final tool, and the most powerful, was the storytelling posters. I gave each table again a big sheet of cardboard and a variety of materials: fabric, ribbons, scissors, glue, magazines. And I asked them to tell a story of how things could be better in our community. The last thing I asked them to do was to explain this work to the rest of the room. I asked them to tell us what they did, why they did it, and what it all meant. This was really collaboration at work. Now, I kind of thought that this was going to come up with some kind of magical solution to how we can change the way people see homelessness. But what I got was evidence. Evidence that people could work together, that they were proud of their solutions and they owned them. They had things in common. They talked about their hobbies. They talked about their children and their grandchildren. These exercises had brought people together and created a sense of community. Well, that's great, but what am I going to do with all of this? Well, my next project is to ask people who have lived with homelessness to guide and lead students and teachers to create a learning tool to help those students better understand the humanity behind poverty and homelessness. And I hope to use that tool all across Canada to create a more informed and compassionate group of voters. We need to do this work, and we need curiosity, compassion, and collaboration to do that. I attended a conference hosted by the Othering and Belonging Institute at UC Berkeley last year. It was so exciting for someone who's a design thinker. And something really stuck with me. It was this Zulu word, sawubona. It means I see you. I'm hoping that design thinking will help us all to be seen. Close your eyes. What do you see?